Brenna Knows Best.
Hi, friends, and welcome back to Brenna Knows Best. I'm your host, Brenna Berg. Hi, how are you guys? Happy Monday! Holy cow. You guys, I'm freezing my tits off right now in this apartment. We keep it at like 66 or 67 when we sleep. That's Carter's rule, not mine, and I hate it. I don't mind if I wake up sweating. Like, I would always rather be hot than cold, but then in the morning sometimes I forget to turn it up, or some mornings I turn it up and it's colder outside now here in Dallas. Like, the mornings are like 50s, 60s, and I just cannot warm up for the life of me. It probably doesn't help that I'm drinking an iced coffee, which I'm not really sure why I have not switched over. Maybe that's my problem. However, while I'm talking about it, you guys, product of the week, my little Yeti tumbler. I have had this thing for forever, literally forever. And as you can hear, I put ice in here. Obviously, this is an Americano, but it also keeps drinks hot, which I'm not like, again, I know that the hype of the Stanleys was like, it keeps your water cold forever. I actually don't typically like ice drinks. Like, I hate cold things. I hate all cold things. However, where was I going with that? Oh, so like if a drink stays hot or cold, I that doesn't really bother me. I'll drink something at room temperature. Like, don't even. Carter will get us drinks. Like, he'll get me a Diet Coke and then it'll just sit out. And he's like, do you want me to put this in the fridge? I'm like, no, because then it's going to be too cold. Like, I don't care if things are room temperature. However, my Yeti tumbler, this is like literally, I don't even remember when I got this, probably in college. It might have been a gift. I've had this forever and it is my favorite. Like, it's my go-to cup when I go on walks. I'm always carrying this. I just always have it on me. So product of the week, we're starting out right away. Next, let's recap. Okay. This past week, you guys, not a lot happened except I got a haircut. If you're watching this, it's in a pony. Oh my gosh. I posted that story on my Instagram and I said I got a haircut, which today I'm going to post a reel. I think she took some videos and some photos. So I'm going to post that for her just because, like, I obviously paid for the service. Oh, that's another thing, which I talked to her about. She was like, it's so funny because there are girls that have reached out and they have, 2,000 followers and they want a free haircut. And she's like trying to build her business. I'm like, oh my gosh, no. Like, I always fear, like, for example, the photographer that I got for Carter's and I's couple photos, which we'll talk about in a second, because that's already next week. When this episode drops, we have photos on Friday. I have not thought about it once. I also am running out of money, but we'll talk about that as well. However, okay, I never want to, like, I messaged the photographer I emailed her, and a lot of times, like, people just want to see who you are anyways. And I just never want people to assume that I'm like trying to get, but it's so weird. I'm not going to be like, I will pay you. Cause that's also like, you fucking snooty bitch. Like, I just want to be a normal person. Like, I'm never trying to just get free shit. So for example, I'm paying for the photos, obviously. And just like the haircut, like this girl, Lexi, who did my hair, she reached out and I'm like, amazing. And I obviously still just assumed I was going to pay. Like, it's a service, you know what I mean? And it was $40. It was like a model thing. Cause I think she's just now becoming a hairdresser. Like, they have to get a certain amount of hours or whatever. So it was still like, it was $40, which is amazing. And I think I'm going to keep going to her. But I was there, you guys, for like over 2 hours, which we were chatty. But I also think my hair, because it's so thick, like, she washed it first. So we went over, she washed my hair. Amazing. Love. We went back. She cut it. Layers. Okay. And then she blowed out my hair. Is that how you call it? You guys, I don't think I've ever done that. Like, people say, like, get a blowout. Da, da, da. Like, I never really understood what that meant because I've just never done it, which really all it was her using a hair dryer and a comb and just kind of like drying it and then swirling it with the comb. Really, it just made my hair straight, which I don't know how I feel about that. Like, it was fine and my hair looked amazing and gorgeous, but on the day-to-day, like, that's just not something I would do. I actually got a tool from Bondi Boost. It's like one of those, the combs that are round and have like the really long bristles for this sort of technique. Well, I got this tool from Bondi Boost. I'm sure it has a name. I just don't know. And it's that, but it's also a dryer. So it's like a big tool. So it's like a comb, a circular comb, but in it, I think it's hot and it's like blowing. So it's kind of like a hair blow drying tool. I think I'm going to try and use that and just kind of like see what the frick is going on. Honestly, you guys, I need to spend way more time figuring out like Hawaii because here's my problem. And Lexi asked me this. She's like, okay, Brenna, like, what are your hair concerns? Like, what are the things, you know, like, what do you not like about your hair? And I'm like, honestly, nothing. But I was like, also, I just don't know anything. And I just don't care, which is just who I am. I don't know. You guys know I throw it in a pony. I curl it, but like, that's the extent of it. I don't, whatever. I was like, you know what I hate? I hate myself because I feel like I have this beautiful hair and I don't utilize it to its full capacity. Like I do. Deep down, this is how I feel with like fashion as well. I'm like, bitch, just try a little bit. But there's something in me, I think because I grew up for so long not caring or doing anything, that now it's just like so annoying to me. But in Hawaii, I'm just going to be running around with my hair in a pony and like whatever, which is fine. And it's who I am and it's when I'm most comfortable, and I don't really care what I look like. That's the other thing. Like I just don't deeply care. And today's episode, you guys, which I'm going to jump ahead here really quick, I've been wanting to make another episode about confidence, but I feel like there are so many different things that go into being a confident person. So I'm going to break it down in these next few episodes. I'm sure I'll jump around, like one episode won't be about it, but today's is going to be about quitting being a people pleaser. How I am a recovering people pleaser, how to stop being a people pleaser, because I think that plays a big part in women being less confident. And we'll talk about that in the later part of the episode. Okay, how did I get here? Oh my gosh, you guys, my brain moves so quickly and I can't even catch up. I was talking about how I hate myself because of my hair. Oh, a lot of times I feel like people think that like to be confident, you know, and I get it, look good, feel good. And people are like, when you look good and you go out, like that can be true for some people. For me, it couldn't be farther from the truth. Like I can go out of my apartment in the baggiest, ugliest sweats that are coming apart literally at the seams. I'm wearing them right now. No makeup, hair a mess. It does not make me feel less confident, but that is just who I am. That might not be true for others. Like I know some people would feel very insecure going out like that, and neither is right or wrong, but to me that is something that has never bothered me. Like when I see a photo of myself and I don't look good, like I'm like, okay, like these are just like not things that I deeply care about. But I would love to like look cute and be a cute bitch, especially I feel like as a content creator, I feel like I'm fake as fuck. I feel like I don't deserve to be here. When I go online and I see like all the aesthetic videos, I'm like, damn, I really bamboozled everybody, even though that's not my content in the first place. But I'm like, Carter actually, he had a work event last week and I was going to go, but then the vibes were not partners coming. It was like a client little situation. So it was like all the partners and everything. And then like they would invite their clients. And he said he got stuck in a conversation, or not stuck, but he was in a conversation with a bunch of guys and they were talking about their wives and how they each pack 2 checked bags. Like, oh, my wife, like she needs 2 checked bags to carry on the personal item. And Carter's like, you tell Brenna that all she could take is a backpack? No, he's like, you tell Brenna she can have 2 checked bags. She's bringing a backpack. And I'm just like, yeah, which is valid. It's just who I am. I don't know. It's who I am. However, back to the plot, the tools, the hair. So Lexi was presh. The haircut was amazing. She did long layers. She trimmed it. She blew me out. We did the videos, and I'm going to go back in February. I think I was like, you know, it doesn't really matter. Like I'll probably need a trim at that point. I don't know. 'Cause I don't dye my hair. So it's not like I need to, but I was like, I trust your judgment whenever you need me. So that was exciting. And it was the longest I've ever been anywhere. You guys, at Supercuts, it's like 30 minutes. Oh, I also got my nails done and I thought I told her to do round. Didn't happen. Did I speak up? No. The girl next to me, you guys, oh my God, I was going to make a TikTok about this. It is just so funny. This is truly the 2 types of people in this world. Like, I don't even care. The color I don't like after it's on, the shape, I don't speak. I'm like, I'm not going to inconvenience this woman, even though it's a service I'm paying for. That is so deeply, and this has a lot to do with the people pleasing, I think. Like this is underlying of that. And just like, I don't know. There's a lot of things that go into it. The girl next to me. So like I showed up, I picked a color and it was a different one than I normally do, although it looks exactly the same. The reason I went and got them done, I'm going to get them done again before Hawaii, but I was letting them grow out, but they get to a certain length where then they like, I hit something and they crack, and I want them to just be a hair long for Hawaii, because if I get engaged, proposed, I would really like not an almond per se, but like kind of that an oval round situation. And I don't want them to be little nubs. So I just wanted to go get them done to protect them. That way they continue to grow out. And then the day before we leave, I will go and get them done again, which is like so extra, especially like I was saying, you guys, money. I've been so stressed about money recently. And I feel like this is good to talk about because I'm sure all of you are there. Just in this past year, like I've been doing, I think, more of the heavy lifting, which isn't true because Carter pays half the rent, or did. Now he's covering all of it. He does the electricity. He does a lot of things behind the scenes, but I was getting most of the groceries. I bought him stuff, apartment stuff, and I think I just got a little too crazy. And now I'm really feeling the effects of that. And I've been really like, I have not done many brand deals online at all. You guys, like, I don't make a lot of money from social media because I've been really conscious of not being just a fucking sellout and doing that, which now at this point, people understand. Like, it is just how you make the money. I think people are more to terms with it. But for so long, I was like, if it doesn't make sense, I don't want to do it. And I just like, I'm literally so low on money, not so low, but for me, so low. And I want to buy all these things for Hawaii, but then we also have to buy our flights for Christmas and then Christmas gifts. Like, shit is just so expensive. There's so many things. And I almost didn't get my nails done because I was like, oh, $40, which thankfully the place I go to, it's like literally only $40. I know girls spend like hundreds of dollars, not hundreds, but like $100. However, I was like, this is important to me because if I do get proposed to, you know, as much as I don't care about how I look, I like having my nails done. And you guys know for a long time I was getting them done, but then we don't do anything. So I'm like, what the frick am I getting my nails done for? Also, okay, last weekend, what did we do? We did nothing except we went to the shooting range, which I was going to post a story. I obviously didn't take any photos there, but I forget, like Carter was telling me that his boss, like the head managing partner at his firm, has never shot a gun. And I'm talking to a bunch of women right now. So like, this is probably even more so the case. Like a lot of you probably have never. And for me in North Dakota, you guys, they put a gun in your hand. So like everybody goes hunting, everybody goes fishing, like you shoot clay pigeons. Like, I don't know the first time I shot a gun. It's just like what you do in a like small town, North Dakota. It's like so normal. But a lot of people, like this managing partner is from Dallas or like a big city and just like never was in that life. And you know, Carter, I told you his dad is a hunter, a fisher, like they do all of that stuff. And in the Montana house, like Montana is like so that vibe. So like we go to the shooting range and we went with his friend, and then his friend, you guys, okay, this is what I wanted to get to. His friend has been dating, well, ever since I've known him. He has not had a girlfriend in the year and a half that I've been around. But he dates and we'll like hear about a girl, and it's actually so cute. Like he kind of gets wrapped up right away, and I'm also like, whoa, slow down, like slow down. Okay, however, he's been dating a girl and they've been on like a couple dates now. I think they have kissed. He was like telling us to slow down. Maybe I shouldn't be saying this just in case she listens, which I would never. Yeah, you're never gonna know these people. But okay, I was telling Carter, I'm like, why don't we all go? She went to SMU. Carter's at SMU Law. I think she might be at SMU Law. I don't fucking know. However, there's the last football game of the season. So Carter texted me yesterday and he was like, hey, I bought his tickets and we're going to go with my friend and this new girl that he's dating. So I'm so excited to see the vibes. Also, one of the partners at Carter's firm tailgates the SMU games with like a bunch of his buddies. I think they were in a fraternity back in the day. He's a little bit older. He's one of the partners that Carter like loves. So before the game, we're gonna go to this like tailgate. Apparently they have like crazy food. They have like a live performance. Like it's like a legit SMU is so fucking bougie. So I can't even imagine what it is. But we're doing that on Saturday. Oh, last weekend. Also, you guys, we started watching. I was like, babe, why? I really miss TV and game shows. Like when I was a kid, we watched Price is Right, Wheel of Fortune, Jeopardy, all of the things. And when I go back home to LaDonna and Gordy's, like after the news, the nightly news, Jeopardy comes on and then Wheel of Fortune. So like I still, when I go back home, I get to watch them. Well, on YouTube, you can just look up the shows or whatever. And so on Saturday or Sunday, when we were just hanging about, we watched a few Jeopardy episodes, and Carter is so good. Carter is quite literally so smart, and it's so hot. I'm like, babe, Yes, I got a couple. Okay, but not a lot. He just like knows so many random things. They're like, they do the categories and it's like history or like am lit or like all this. And he's like, okay, I got this. And he gets like everyone in the category. I'm like, what the fuck are you even talking about? But then it's also the most random things. There was like a space one. He knew all of those. I'm like, when did you learn this? And why do you know that? Men are it's so funny to me how fundamentally different men and women are. Like, they're just like biologically, we enjoy different things. Like, I could give two tits less about history. Okay, the closest I get to history is Kristen Hanna's book, The Women. Like, I did like learning about the Vietnam War. That was like, but again, it was like a story. Like, the facts were facts, but it was a fictional story. You know what I mean? No, I don't need to know who every president was. I don't know all of the wars. I don't know, it's just so funny how like Carter goes deep dive into these like weird places on the internet, on YouTube. And I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck? However, now Monday rolls around, right? And Carter gets home from work and we sit down and eat and we pull up the TV and the most recent Jeopardy, like the one that was that day, somebody put it online. Somebody put it on YouTube. It was our first recommended. So every night this week when Carter gets home, we've been doing the nightly Jeopardy, which has been so fun because also, can I talk about something like this is really bothering me with the proposal? So like this past week, you guys, on Sunday evening, okay, tell me who he's talking to on a Sunday evening. I digress. He takes a phone call, or maybe two. He like leaves the apartment and takes a call. Okay. He comes back Monday night. He did it again. Okay. There's like so much going on. And now I'm like, oh my God, is this going to be like the biggest, like most crazy proposal ever? Because like, who the fuck are, like, what are you planning? Okay. But with that, my issue is, not does it feel like he's hiding something from me, because obviously, but I do feel like there's so much going on in his head with work and the proposal, and he can't talk to me about the proposal. So I just have felt a little bit distant from him recently. Like, he seems a little bit stressed, which like when he plans, he hates this bullshit. So I'm sure he is stressed. But I'm like, babe, I need attention. Like, I was like so desperate this weekend. I'm like, do you love me? And he's like, you just wait. Okay. He's like, you don't even know what I've been doing to show you that I love you. I'm like, okay, well, it's not here yet. So show me right now that you love me. Okay. However, the Jeopardy has been so nice because I have been feeling like a little bit disconnected. And I think that's just easy. Now that Carter works, like he's gone all day, he's at work, he gets home, we eat, we watch something quick and we go to bed. Like, there just is not much interaction. This past weekend, we didn't do much. Friday night, what did we do? Nothing, I think, actually. But this weekend, we're going to the SMU game on Saturday. Tonight, you guys, which obviously this is coming out after the fact, I'm going to this Mariah Carey holiday bar. And I got an email last week or a couple weeks ago about this, and they were like, okay, you can bring a +1. So I asked my friend Natalie, so she's going to come with me. But basically, it's like the 30-year reunion of Mariah Carey's Christmas album, I think. And so in 5 cities, I think Dallas, New York, maybe LA, I don't remember all of them, with the Virgin Hotels. There's a Virgin Hotels here in Dallas. It's like this really nice hotel that opened up a couple years ago now. They're doing like a seasonal, I think it starts. So tonight is like the premiere opening or whatever. So it's like a private exclusive event. And then it actually opens tomorrow until I think Christmas. So it's like a Mariah Carey themed bar, and they're gonna have her music playing, obviously, and they have a bunch of custom drinks, which you guys know I don't drink, but like such a cute, fun little thing. So if you're in Dallas or one of the cities, look it up. So I have that tonight. My friend Natalie called this morning. She's like, bitch, she's gonna be late, but what's new? And that's what we've got going on. Also this weekend, we need to shop. Me and Carter have not talked about these couple photos at all, which is my fault. Which it'll be fun. Again, like Carter probably already has clothes that work, but on Sunday, I'm sure we'll go shopping. And then what else? Oh, May's sleeping arrangement. So you guys know that she has been sleeping on the ottomans next to me. Well, we're having some issues because this bitch has been climbing into the bed. And you guys, the other night I went to bed. I was exhausted. I think this was Saturday night. Carter was still watching something on YouTube and I was like, babe, I'm like, my eyes are closing. I can't stay up. Oh, that's what happened on Friday. We watched White House Down. Okay. And I was laying on Carter's lap and a pillow and I started dozing off and I was trying so hard to keep my eyes open because it was really good. I think it was on Netflix. And pretty soon, like Carter like jolted and I was like really fully asleep at this point, and I look up and I'm like, oh my god, did you fall asleep? And both of us, you know, when you doze off and you do everything that you can to like stay in that headspace. So both of us get up. I let May out really quick to go potty. I come in, brush my teeth. Carter takes off his clothes. He's like trying to like keep his eyes closed and like get into bed, you know, because you want to be able to fall asleep. Then the longer that you're up, it's like keeping you up. Well, that happened Friday night. So Saturday night, it was like 10 p.m. and I was like, babe, I cannot stay up. I'm going to get into bed. And I get into bed and I was going to read, but then I didn't. And I told him, I was like, oh, I'm going to read, right? No, I shut off the light. I go to bed. Well, I hear them come in. Okay. And Carter puts May, because I had her bed ready next to me, obviously. And I hear him like, shh, because she's like, and he drops her in the bed and immediately I feel her paw. She's like trying. He said, no, you can't go in the bed. And he like moves her. I'm like hearing this. I'm like really fucking tired, but it was like the cutest thing ever. And then he goes over, he gets into bed, and then I'm sleeping. Okay, so I don't know at what point this was, but all of a sudden I feel her and her feet are like halfway between my legs. Okay, she's like on the bed like half, but she's in between. And then all of a sudden I hear Carter and he goes, hurry, hurry, hurry. And she crawls across and cozies on up between us, and he like nestles her in closer to him because he knows that she bothers me when I sleep. But all I could hear is hurry, hurry, hurry. Like he's trying to smuggle her across the bed. Oh my gosh. But then I'm like, then it taught her. So one night I woke up like middle of the night and I'm trying to move my legs and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm on the side of the bed and Carter's big ass thigh or leg or something is like on my side. I can't move my leg. And I was like, oh, like I don't want to wake him. So I try and rearrange like slightly. And then I wake up a little bit later. Okay. And all of a sudden it's still there. I'm like, holy shit. And so I just slightly nudge it and I hear, I'm like, oh my God, it's May. I thought it was Carter. I thought it was his leg, but no, it's her. I just hear the little, I'm like, oh my God, move, bitch, move. So I just like kick her over, you know, I just like shove her over. And then you guys, okay, another night, oh, she was just beside me. So like the bed's right there. So then she was at my side and I woke up and I'm like, bitch, I can't move. So I just picked her up and moved her over. And then she's making like mean noises. She's like, and I'm like, shut the frick up. Dad is trying to sleep. Like, stop and don't come in this bed again. Last night, you guys, I wake up. She is on my back. I was on my stomach. She is quite literally like on the top of my butt on my back. I said, what the fuck is going on? I moved. So like I moved to twist her to the side and then I pick her up and throw her in her bed. I'm like, stay. So I'm not sure how much longer this is going to go for, but that's been the recent situations. Oh my gosh. Carter, though, telling her to come over, that was like the most precious thing ever. Okay. And as far as engagement goes, you guys, yeah, no new information except, and I talked about this on the stories. Carter was like, babe, they sent me like a rendering situation or like a visual, like a virtual 360 situation. And he said, that thing's blangin'. I said, let's go. Okay. The other thing that he's been doing though is he's been saying that, oh, in 6 months when I propose, like he keeps like trying to put a timeline in my head. He's like, oh yeah, like in 6 months when I was thinking about doing it. I'm like, babe, you don't have me fooled. I'm like, I know what's happening. And he said, you don't know. Okay. He's like, I'm designing it in a way that way you don't know. I'm like, okay, babe, got it. Got it. Love you. Or he'll be like, well, I still have to ask your dad. So like once we go there for Christmas, like I'll have to ask him then. I'm like, sure. But whatever. I'm done thinking about it. I'm done. Like, I'm not really stressed about it. I'm excited. It's going to be so great. And he's obviously doing a lot. I don't know what the hell's going on with all these secret phone calls. Okay, you guys, I think that's it though. Let's talk about books. I have not talked about books in so long, so I'm not sure where I left off. I read The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. I don't know how to pronounce that. So good. That was such a good book. I also read Local Woman Missing. Maybe I told you about that. But after I read The Silent Patient, I immediately went into The Fury by Alex, by the same author, and it was good. A lot of you said to read The Maidens, so I have that on hold. Okay, so I think it's only like 3 weeks, so hopefully that'll be coming soon. And then you guys, I read Magic Hour by Kristen Hanna. Are you fucking kidding me? I was quite literally yesterday morning finishing it on the couch at like 5 a.m. crying my eyes out. And it actually ends up being a happy ending. Okay, but there was a moment I was crushed. Basically, what happens, I'm not going to give you the plot because I don't want to spoil anything, but a girl came out of the woods in this tiny town, and she like jumped up into this tree, and they were able to get her down, and she's mute and has visual and like obvious signs of like horrible abuse, neglect, malnourishment. And they're like, was this girl living in the woods? And that's all I'm gonna do. A psychiatrist comes in, the doctors are working with her. It's like an incredible story. Highly recommend. And then last night, okay, I started, what is it called? First to Lie? No. That's a different one. Wait, 1 second. Let me Google this. Last Lie Wins. No, Brenna. Oh my gosh. Okay, you guys, wait. I think it is called Listen for the Lie. Okay, sorry. I just looked it up on my Libby. Listen for the Lie by Amy Tintera. And honestly, you guys, it's kind of giving me Good Girl's Guide to Murder vibes, like a little bit childish, a little bit like youthy, which I'm not sure, maybe that was the genre, a little bit cheeseball so far, but good. Easy read. I read it at the gym this morning. I'll let you guys know how that continues to go. But let's get into the freaking topic, you guys, how I'm going to help you stop being a people pleaser. Okay, because it could be ruining your life. It literally could be ruining your life, and it used to ruin and run my life, and I'm still in recovery. Like, there are still parts of me that are very much a people pleaser, which I'll talk about, but let's get into it, shall we? Okay, first let's talk about why I think being a people pleaser can make you less confident, and I'll talk about the signs of if I think you're a people pleaser, if you're like, I don't know if I am or not. Okay. Which I feel like if you are, well, honestly, when you're in it, you might not realize. So we'll talk about that. But first, let's talk about why I think this pertains to confidence. Because here's the thing. People pleasers say yes to everybody. They do what everybody else wants them to do, to be nice, to be kind, just because that's who we are. And I think especially this is women. Like, I don't think a lot of men have problems being people pleasers. I'm sure there are some out there, but for the most part, this is a majority women issue, I feel, because we are raised in a way to not, especially in the Midwest, like, you don't upset others. You do what they ask you to do, to be polite. Like, our only role, like, and especially as a young girl, I feel like we're taught to be nice and do things to make everybody else's lives easier, which, here's another thing. I don't ever want it to be confused with somebody trying not to be a people pleaser with being a bitch, because you can be a kind, warm, nice person and also not be a people pleaser. Like, these are two very different things. I think some people are just fucking rude. Totally. That is real. Okay. But there are ways, like, I know at first it's so hard. And the reason I thought about this topic is because I was researching and listening about things on confidence, because I'm always trying to pinpoint like when I became this person. And I think there are these gradual things that help me, and stopping being a people pleaser. I don't know if that's the correct English, but like, not being a people pleaser anymore, which I still do have tendencies, and I still do things sometimes that I don't want to do just to help somebody else, for sure. Like, it's definitely not a thing that you're just like all of a sudden not one day, and everything having to do with confidence. And I think confidence itself is a skill. I think it is something that you practice at and you get better at with all of these little facets. It's like communication. People always ask me about how to be a better communicator. It's just something that you work at. Like there's not like things that I can tell you and all of a sudden you're a good communicator. It's like constant practice and like getting better. I was listening to a Grace Beverly podcast that she put out this week, and this is kind of what prompted this. And she was saying that confidence in competence is like a loop. Okay. To be confident, you have to be competent. And that's like, again, practicing the thing. She was talking about how like, if you're terrified of public speaking, which I am, you guys, public speaking is like one of my only deep fears. Like the second that I have to go up to present or speak in front of a ton of people, I'm like shaking. I'm so scared and I don't know why. Probably because I've only done it a handful of times in my life. And that's what she was saying. Like you can practice. Of course, there are some innate things in us that like people just have this fear, but the more that you do it, the better you get. And that's how I feel about people pleasing. Like the more you get better at saying no and having boundaries, and we'll get into all of these things, the easier it gets, but you'll still slip into it. And I think with certain people, we obviously like bow down more than to others. Like it's way easier to tell a stranger no than it is to tell your mother no. You know what I'm saying? But the reason I think this plays a big part in confidence is because to be a confident person, I think you need to know who you are and have a lot of self-acceptance and self-worth and just like knowledge, honestly, to know yourself. And when you are a people pleaser, you are constantly just doing what everybody else wants you to do to be nice. Like you don't have a lot of control over your own. You do have control, but you're not utilizing it and you're not having boundaries and you're not saying no. You're doing what everybody else wants you to do to be nice and to be that people pleaser. So those people that are constantly people pleasing have a way less sense of self, or is that the corrective verbiage? You guys, I'm sorry, these terms, like they have a way less like knowledge of themselves because they're constantly doing things that other people want them to do and not what they want to do. It's hard to know yourself when you are so tied up in all of these different things that you said yes to because you're doing what other people want you to do and you keep saying yes and now your schedule is packed. And even so, like, how do you even know what you like to do if your friends always ask you to go out on a Friday and Saturday night and you just say yes because they want you there? But like, how do you know that you like that if you've never done the opposite? If you've never said no and just like had a night in? You get what I'm saying? So that's why I think it has a big part. And I think after I Googled this and was researching it, there is science that says like people who are people pleasers have a lower self-esteem and lower confidence, and these things go hand in hand. So I'm so glad that I'm talking about it. Let's first talk about the signs that you are a people pleaser. Number one, the first one that's like the most obvious, is you have a hard time saying no. Even when you don't have the time, even when it's something you don't want to do, when somebody comes to you and asks you to do something or to help out or to go to this event, you always say yes and you never say no. That is sign number one, and I get it. Okay, there was a point in college, you guys, I worked like 40 plus hours at my one job. Well, there was this member who come in all of the time. She was amazing. She was incredible. Oh, before this, there was a man who would come in. He asked me first if in the middle of the day I could come by and let his dogs out for 30 minutes, an hour. Did I need to do that? No. Was he paying me? Yes, which there was a little bit, you know, I was in the belief system at the time, like I just needed to make as much money as possible because I was obviously supporting myself, but like I didn't need to. I was making enough money at my job, but this guy was so nice and I just wanted to say yes and help him. For what? Like it was a little bit self-serving because like I got to hang out with dogs, but like deep down, I just didn't know how to say no. So I worked all the time at my one job. And then every single day, Monday through Friday, for the most part, I was going for an hour from like noon to 1 whenever I had off to go let this man's dogs out. Okay. And then I didn't know how to say no. And then you guys, this woman who was also a member, a woman who came in, she owned a local bar. She had just opened a new one. Okay. It was her second location. And she asked me if I wanted to bartend. She was like, I think you'd be so good at it. I just love you. I said, yes. Did I need the money? No. But I just like felt like this is who I was. I just did what other people, and some of you, if you're not a people pleaser, you cannot understand this. It is so hard for people to relate. Like when I talk to Carter about things, he's like, just say no. Like, you don't want to do it. You don't have the time for it. Don't, just say no. And it's like, it's not that easy. You feel bad. You feel like you're letting people down. Oh, this is why, again, it's another reason why I think people that are people pleasers have a low self-esteem and confidence, is because we put our value in other people's hands. So like what I just said is, I didn't want to say no to these people because I didn't want to disappoint them, and disappointing others means that I'm not doing something right. Like that's the thought process. And if you're there, or if you've been there, you get it. Like you feel bad. And then, or like a friend, like when my friend asked me to do something, but I'm exhausted, or it's just something that I don't want to go to, like I hate letting them down. And it's like, there is some good in it. It's like good that you have a good heart and you want to make others happy and you want to help out, but it's also like at the detriment to you. It's like you need to take care of you though. And like people, number one, they aren't going to be that disappointed. If that woman who asked me to work at the sports bar, if I said no, she would have moved on and found somebody else. And oh, this is another thing with confidence, and oh my God, I'm going to jump around, but it's like you living your life and making your choices because you fear somebody's going to be disappointed in you. Like that is no way to live. And of course you're not going to have confidence because you're just doing things so that other people aren't disappointed in you. And I listened to a Mel Robbins podcast this week, just like kind of gathering information. And she was saying how when she married her husband, okay, she was from the Midwest somewhere, I don't even know, and her husband is from the East Coast, and they were getting married and they were staying there. And she's like, my parents didn't want me to marry him, not because he wasn't great, but because selfishly they always thought and hoped that she would come back to the Midwest. And it's like, of course, and they don't mean it deeply. Like they obviously want their daughter to be happy, but every single one of us has a bias. Like every single one of us wants people to do something a certain way for our own benefit, even when you're trying to be unbiased. Like if your friend comes to you for advice, they're always going to be, even myself, like I'm always going to tell my friend to do something that's a little bit because that's something I want them to do. Does that make sense? Or like even just my own spin on it. Like we all have different experiences. So I'm telling my friend to do a certain thing because of what I've been through. You have no idea how that pertains to her life. And holy shit, I got off track. Oh, well, okay. Another thing really quickly. I was talking to LaDonna on the phone and we were talking about one of my good friends and how she back in the day had and I think she might still, okay, we are loose friends. I haven't talked to her in a while, but she had a therapist, but this therapist was more of, number one, she was like Christian based, okay, because my friend is really Christian, and then she wanted somebody who was also Christian just for like the ideology, which I think is totally normal. But she was more of a life coach, like helping her direct her life. Okay, so it was therapy. And I think this person was a psychiatrist, but it was a very specialized. Like this girl didn't have like things she was working through, but she had a lot of anxiety about like job opportunities and moving and stuff like that. So she wanted somebody in that same, like the Christian values to help her. Okay, does that make sense? Because she would never say my therapist. She would always call it something else. And I was explaining to LaDonna how like, yeah, you can go, like, for example, this girl had moved. So now my friend doesn't live here. But before she was moving, she had talked to her therapist a lot about it and like the opportunity and all of that. And like even this girl going to her parents, going to me, like you can ask your friends and family for like their thoughts and opinions on something you're going to do, but there's always going to be a bias. There just is. And then when you're taking that into consideration, it's like you're no longer choosing for you. Okay. So this is why having a therapist in general is so nice, because they are completely unbiased. They don't get a return on any of the choices that you make. Like they're literally just there to talk to you and help you through. I've never been to therapy, but this is what I imagine, obviously, because they don't know you. right? They're not a part of your life. So they are completely like there to just help guide you through these things. And this is with people pleasing. Like when you cannot say no, okay, you're doing everything for other people. Like when you just like don't know how to say no, that's it. Okay. So number one, how to know that you're a people pleaser, you can say no. And I think there are levels of this too. Like some people, you know, I'm going to talk about how to get better at that and like how to set the boundaries towards the end. I'm going to go through the signs first, but some people are at different paths of this. Like I used to never be able to say no. Like I just couldn't. And now like there are some things that to this day I say yes, even though I might not want to. And like, again, I'm like it's like a recovering alcoholic or a recovering whatever. Like it is a process, but I've gotten much better. And again, what is that quote about? Like the only people who are mad at your boundaries are those who benefited from you not having them. Okay. And I think it's really hard at first, you know, because when you come from this place of like not wanting to disappoint others and always making people happy and always being like, I love being that reliable person. I love being that friend that my friends know they can come to me when they're moving, when they need help, and I'm there. Like I get satisfaction off of that. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. But again, it's like your friends, like even if you weren't always there, even if they knew you couldn't always help, they will love you regardless. And I know my friends feel that way, but I still, for the most part, am always there for them. But it's a fine, like it's again, this gray area. And again, we'll just work at it until the day we die. But it's so funny when I talk to Carter about it and he just like can't relate. Like boys are just like, yeah, if I don't want to do something or it doesn't make sense, I'm going to say no. I'm like, oh, right. You make it sound just like so easy, but they weren't raised like us. Like women are just raised to be nice and make others happy and put yourself last. And that's like being a mom. Like I understand how moms get so lost and they have no sense of identity because they're putting everybody. And of course, when you have kids, you have to do that. But let's say they're not like me and they've been a people pleaser their whole life. Then they get married, then they have kids. Like they never had a moment to even know who the fuck they are because they're always doing what other people want them to do. It's sad. It's so sad. And it's just like women, we just like the emotional load of things that we carry at all times is insane. It's just insane. Okay, full stop. Next. Oh, this next one I wrote down because, which I go back and forth, but agreeing with everything that everybody says, like not having an opinion. And this is me to my core, and I'm still this way, but it doesn't bother me because I am a firm believer that you don't need to always state your opinions. I do have opinions. I just don't say them because not everything needs to be like, oh, well, I think this. Okay. But if you often find yourself like you don't have a strong opinion about things, you're always just agreeing with the people around you. I feel like that is a sign of people pleasing. Over committing, okay, which kind of goes in like a lot of these have to majorly do with the not being able to say no. When you are overcommitted, you're doing this, that, and the other. Me in college, when I had 3 different jobs that I didn't need, my main job was already 40 plus hours a week. And then I had a boyfriend. So like I was constantly just like doing things like, okay, then we're going out and doing this and seeing these people. Like I didn't have control over my own time. I did, but I wasn't allowing myself to because I was saying yes to everything. So being overcommitted. This is just like a tale as old as time. I feel like my best friend Natalie, which I wouldn't even say she's a people pleaser, but she just says yes to everything, going out, and she enjoys those things. But like this bitch works all of the time. She never has a moment to herself. And then like I want to see her and she's exhausted, which I totally understand. But it's like a lot of women in their young 20s, I feel like we need to go out and we need to do all of the things. And whether it's to make other people happy or again, we just don't know how to say no. I don't know, but overcommitting and just like having something all of the time, like that's exhausting. That's exhausting. Another sign of being a people pleaser, I feel, is the fear of being rejected. I think that if you are a person who like thinks about all the time what other people are thinking about you and if they don't like you and if they're mad at you, this is a big sign. So then you do things to overcompensate. You try and like make them happy and you try and say yes to the things. And it's like, who gives a fuck? Okay, I'm kind of getting into the end of the episode right now, but okay, Brenna, stay on track. You guys, I'm so sorry. But the fear of being rejected is a big sign because you go out of your way to seek others' approval because that gives you your sense of self and your self-worth. Like you only feel worthy if other people like you. And it's like, no, that doesn't actually matter at all. And again, this goes back to kind of just society and growing up in the school system when friends are everything and cliques and like, yeah, the kid that's alone is like the unpopular one and then he's made fun of. And at the birthday party, like you're told that you should have all of your friends. So like this is like heavily ingrained in us, but that is also a sign. A lot of these that I wrote down go hand in hand, but the last one that I'll say is feeling guilty for prioritizing yourself. Like when you finally say no, or you try and like put your foot down or take time for yourself, but you feel bad about it for quite literally taking care of yourself, that is also a big sign of people pleasing. I think you guys get it. It's like not being able to say no, overextending yourself, doing everything for other people, you know, caring a lot about others' opinions. These are all signs that you are a people pleaser. Okay, we will move right along to, I think we don't need to break down the whys. I think it can stem from a lot of places. Again, just social norms. I think insecurity. A lot of us like cannot sit with our own thoughts and it's easier to just keep yourself busy. And if everybody loves you and like everybody thinks you're the bee's knees because you say yes to everything and you get a lot of validation from that. But it's like, okay, but what if you just like took a step back? Like, what if you realize at some point that you're overextending and you're exhausted? Like these people don't, I think we oftentimes, which this always sounds like so dark and twisted, but we think that other people care so deeply about us, which some of your friends and your family do, but also like those super loose friends that like ask you to do things on the weekend, like if you stopped going out and they stopped reaching out, like they don't deeply care. Like they just want, for example, the friend that invites you to everything because she just doesn't want to go by herself. This could be your good friend, but there are a lot of people out there just like you or somebody you know that can't do things by themselves. So the only reason they ask you is because they don't want to go by themselves. It's not because they deeply want you to be there. Like we've all been in that position. Like we've all had friends that maybe like the friendship broke up, or you know, you realize like you never felt that deeply connected to this person because they were just there because they wanted you to like go out with them on the weekend. So they were kind of like using you. I feel like we've all had those friendships. Like there are friendships in my life where I've been like, oh, they just want me around for like these super particular things. I had a friend who like, she would just always bend to me. She would never ask me about myself. And I'm like, she gets a lot of like, the only reason we are friends is because she needs like an ear, which is like fine. But it just opens up your eyes to like, why do we break our backs for people? Like for your friends and your family, like there is so much good in connection, but I think there's a lot of relationships in our life where you might break your back for this person and it's like they don't even really care that deeply. Like they just don't want to be alone, or they just don't want to go to that thing, or they just wanted like more people there so they invited you, or they know that you will say yes to help them move so they just ask you and use you. Like I think that happens to a lot of people. So really at the end of the day, like the one person you have until the day you die is you. Okay, so you need to not only take care of yourself, but also like harbor a good relationship with yourself. And that goes for spending time by yourself. That goes for doing the things and finding the things that you love. Again, if you are constantly at the mercy of others, saying yes to everything and never taking a second for yourself to even like figure out what you like, that's just no way to live. And it only gets harder because let's say you meet the love of your life, which is amazing, but then you get married and you have kids and your whole entire life, you're just like, again, then at the mercy of others. And I think people pleasing goes into relationships. And I wasn't even going to talk about this. I guess I didn't even think about it, but I think there are a lot of women out there that are people pleasers, and then they meet a guy who they want to like be their husband. So they also then people please in their relationship. They morph into this person to fit for a guy. I've been there. Like this is me in my past 2 relationships. Like I just became the version of me that I knew they would like, which it was me, but like you kind of just position yourself in a way and then you wake up one day and you're like, oh, I don't actually like this, this, and this, but I just wanted him to be happy. And I think some people get stuck in that and then they get married to this person without even like realizing it. It's not like a conscious thought, but you just so badly wanted to be in a relationship and be loved. And so all of the sudden, again, and I think this is why divorces happen. I think this is why women wake up someday and they're like, I'm just a mom. Like, who am I and what things do I like? Because they just like people please, and then they got into this relationship and then they got married. And it's like, you never once said no. You never once not took care of yourself, because you can also take care of yourself. Again, there are levels to this, but like you never really deeply realized what you like and who you like to be around. You just were constantly saying yes. And some people can go through this their whole life and be fine. Like some people are extroverts and they love doing this and like it's totally fine. But for a lot of others, it's like you wake up one day and I think having an identity crisis, and it's like, oh my gosh. And that's what moving to Dallas like did for me. Once I got out of my hometown and into a new environment and around new people, I'm like, oh my God, I no longer like, nobody knows me. Nobody knows that I'm this people pleasing bitch, because I do feel like in Fargo, a lot of people that knew me, my friends, like they knew who I was and my tendencies. And it was like a complete 180. I could reinvent myself once I moved here. And I did. I was like, I'm only saying yes to the things that I want to go to. If I want to do something, I'll go by myself. Like I want to find people. And this is another big thing with confidence, not so much the people pleasing, but like really paying attention to energies and like, who do I like being around, or the things that I do. Like once you get home from an activity or hanging with somebody, it's like, how do you feel? Are you depleted? Are you exhausted? Or are you ecstatic? Like, did you have so much fun? Are you so happy? Is your cup filled? And this can like ebb and flow. I feel like I had friends at one point here in Dallas that they filled my cup and they were just what I needed at the time and everything was good. And then they get to this point and it's like either they've outgrown you or you've outgrown them. And it's like, oh, I'm starting to like dread seeing them, or when I leave, like it wasn't that fun. It's like, okay, then you can like start saying no. And it's not that easy. I get it. And we're going to talk about that here in 1 second. But yeah, that's my little rant on that. Okay, how to stop being a people pleaser. You set healthy boundaries. And this is the other thing about boundaries is like, you don't even know the boundaries to set if you've never been in a certain position. So this is something you're constantly learning. Again, I talked about this and I feel like this goes hand in hand with last week's episode, because I feel like with the holiday season, there's events and things and family members who want to see you and want you to do this, and your parents want you to do that, and you're planning a wedding and they want you to do this and that. Like there's just so much bullshit, and you don't know the boundaries to set until you're in it. Like, for example, I was explaining last week, like last Christmas was like kind of a chaotic time for Carter and I with like family situations. And we didn't even know the scenario that we were going to be in until we were in it. So like you smile, you wave, you get through it. But then it was like after, it was like, okay, I don't want to be in this position, or I don't want to do this, or I'm not doing this next Christmas. Like we've had these conversations and decided them. And sometimes like you find yourself in a position you've never been in and you're like, I hate this. I don't want to be here. You can smile and wave through it. If you're stronger than I am, you can stand up and say, what the fuck is going on? Okay. But once you figure out, again, like years pass, if every Christmas you go home and you're anxious and your dad wants to see you, but you don't really have a good relationship with your dad, it's like, learn to say, okay, you know, you don't have to see these people. You can say, nope, I'm not doing that. Or you can set your guidelines, say, okay, dad, I'll see you, but it's from this time to this time and we're going to go to dinner. And these are my criteria. Like you are allowed to do that. And you are 100%, you should do that to take care of yourself, because what is a life to live if you are just constantly at the mercy of others, especially when there are things you don't want to do? Like this is where I'm at with a family member. Like I cannot see this person for longer than hours at a time. And I'm not going to, because I'm miserable. I'm suffering for what? Like this is my own life and I'm letting other people dictate it? Absolutely not. And this is my problem with people pleasing in general. It's just like you give and give and give. And for a long time, it's fine. Like for a long time, I didn't even realize this about myself. I just like, my dad taught me to be a good person and to help others. And when people call you and want to help, you know, they need help moving or whatever the thing is, you say yes. And my dad is like the ultimate, not even people pleaser, but like he loves that shit. Like he loves being the reliable person that's there when you need help, to fix the car, to do the thing. And like, that's his love language. But for a lot of us, like, yes, yes, it does feel good, especially when it's for your good friends, but like, to what extent and when are you saying yes to things that you actually don't want to be doing? You know what I mean? So that's that. Learning to set healthy boundaries, and this is an ongoing process, but boundaries, again, just to reiterate, are to protect you. They're not to control other people. It's like, hey, these are my boundaries. Like, I don't want to be in this position, so this is what I'm doing. You know, you can act however, but I'm telling you that if in this situation this happens, like, I'm gonna leave or whatever the thing is. Okay. Does that make sense? Learning to just say no. Okay. And this is so hard. And if you're face to face with somebody, I recommend saying something like, let me check my calendar. Like, if they're asking you to do something, they're like, oh, I don't know, but like, let me make sure that I don't have anything going on and I'll get back to you. Because I feel like in the moment it's scary and you just want to say yes. Like, this is so me. Or if you get sent like an invite, an RSVP, there is a no. You don't have to explain yourself. You can just say no. Come up with your standard like phrase. You know, again, not that I should recommend lying, but if you need to lie, say, hey, like when you're being asked to do something, just say, I think I might have plans with X and Y. Let me double check and like see, and I'll get back to you. That way you can come back, you can say, you can think about it. And if you want to do it, you can say yes. But if you don't, you make, hey, I'm sorry, like I won't be able to make it, but thank you so much for asking. I think coming up with your no, if it doesn't have to be no, because I know like for whatever reason, saying no is so hard, but coming up with your little phrase that when people ask you to do something, I think is so important. Okay. Prioritizing your needs, like figuring out on a day-to-day basis or a week-to-week basis what you need to be a fun, healthy, functioning adult, and prioritizing that first. Like, even if something comes up that you want to go to, but you know that you've been busy Monday through Saturday, so Sunday is your day to rest. Like, I have a friend who she is now taking Sundays for herself. I'm like, good. Like, even if something comes up, like, you know that you need that time, because once Monday rolls around, you're exhausted. Take Sundays. That is fine. Prioritize what you need, not what others need from you. Okay, my next tip, and honestly, there was a book that helped me with this, and I know Rachel Hollis got a lot of flack for, I don't even know what, but her book, Girl, Stop Apologizing. This honestly probably is what helped. I haven't read it in probably 10 years. No, maybe 8. I read it in college. Stop apologizing. And I think that's exactly the whole thing. And I think it probably is about being a people pleaser. Honestly, I should look into it now that I'm talking about it. But like, you don't owe people an apology for like saying no. Okay. For like taking care of yourself. And I know this is like a learning experience, but you can just say no. And like I said, it's going to be hard right away and you'll get better at saying no. And here's another funny thing is like, now that I am so who I am and my friends and family know that, like my friends will come to me and they're like, yeah, I was going to invite you, but I knew that you would say no. So I didn't. I'm like, perfect. Like they know that I don't want to do this, this, and this, which I'm not saying your friends are going to know you that well or your family, but I've gotten to that point where like I'm just so bluntly me and they know the things that I like and don't like. They know that I don't like being out after 9 p.m. They know that I don't like social settings, like big like bars and crowded areas. And so that's great. And of course, for a certain circumstance, yes, I'll go. Like the bar thing tonight, you know, which this is a little different. It's like a networking, you know, it's for influencing. But you know what I'm saying? But back to the main point. Okay. You don't have to apologize. And again, it's going to be hard. Like this used to be a thing when I was in college. I forget about all this, but like, why did we always say sorry? Like, sorry, you know, whenever you did something that just like, whenever you did anything, we apologize. And it's like, why do we do that? We don't owe an apology. And again, I cannot stress enough. Like there is a difference between being a bitch and just being not a people pleaser. Like you can be kind, but you can also say no. Like saying no isn't necessarily being mean. Okay, there are people that are mean for sure, but that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying take care of yourself. Okay, and then lastly, like talk to somebody, whether it's a therapist or whether it's like your best friend or your mom, about these things, like, start one by one. And I think whoever you're closest to will understand, and talk to them and reflect on your progress, and in a situation dissect it and be like, how could I have like said no? Or how could have I stood up for myself better? Or how could I have just like chosen my own needs first? Because again, it's an ongoing battle. Like, there are things that I go to or do that I don't necessarily want to do. And I think there's a big difference also being a recluse. Like, I'm probably on the unhealthy spectrum. Like, I've probably taken it a little bit too far, but again, this is my life. And there are scenarios where, like, for example, once you have a partner, like with Carter, like there are things that I'm gonna have to do that maybe I don't want to do, and vice versa for him. But like with your partner, you can figure out, again, boundaries together. Like, okay, I'll go to this thing with you, whatever the thing is. I don't have anything in specific, but we're only going to be there for this amount of time. Or then I want to go do this after, and like figuring that out together. Because I do often feel like sometimes in my relationship in college, like his stupid fucking high school friends, I should have said no. I should have said I don't want to go, which I think I did, but we just like didn't know how to communicate as well as I do now. There should have been give and take, and maybe there was. Like, there are things in life that you have to do that you don't want to, but there is a lot of power and control that you have. Like, I think we forget that we are in control, and you can say no. And deep down, I know it's scary and it's hard and you feel bad. And I don't even know what we feel bad for, but like, start standing up for you and start taking care of yourself, because you are the only person that you have. And the better that you can take care of yourself, the better you're going to be in your relationships and in life, and saying yes to the things that you do want to do. And sometimes there are things that you want to do, but you still just don't have the capacity, whether you're busy, whether, and you're like, oh, well, I'm going to try and make it. So then you're going from here to there to there. It's like, you could have just said no. Now you're stressed out. You're not even having a good time. Like, the more you take care of yourself, and I know I get into this fucking rant every week, it's just so important, the better your life is going to be. And that's why I just want to talk about these things with you guys and help the best I can. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Next week, I don't know what the frick it's going to be on, but it will be on something. And I can't wait to talk to you guys then. Okay. Thank you guys so much for being here, and I'll see you next week. Okay. Bye, guys.